Because I see people pushing for signs here.
Well, no, I think he looks up the fence on what side.
Oh, yeah.
Right, right. People don't know.
That's cool over there. So is the noise interfering with the recording? Is that the main issue with the noise?
Not recorded, but
The back people don't hear
yeah,
it?
right.
Uh-huh.
This one is very noisy. The other one is much
Well,
quiet.
if I keep it on now and then I'll turn it with the red light.
You know, no, it's cool though. It's very nice and cool, nice and chilly. No, I live with palm trees. Quiet this morning.
Yeah.
It's been one summer starts, the attendance probably was lower. There's no vacation.
Morning.
Good morning. Can you shoot?
What?
Can you shoot?
Going through Naomi from this guy's actually, I don't know what it is, I don't know what it is. So it's really good. It's doing Malachi, so I don't know. It's written down on the website, I just forgot the word.
Elephant?
Hmm?
Is that what elephant?
I don't know. There's somebody trying to deliver something here.
What is that?
That's, Go around and around.
All right, Jabosai. Good morning. Let's begin. All right, so we're picking up at the last paragraph on page Tzadik Hey. When a person sees that things are not going well for him, he should ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to restore to him the emunah that all is for good. So therefore the Mechaber suggests that when a person feels that things are not going well, and a person feels ultimately again that he's suffering adversity, see, he should ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is interesting. Sometimes we assume that when we're in the middle of difficult circumstances, so our avoda is to daven for those circumstances to cease. The Mechaber posits that we're in the midst of difficult circumstances. The first thing is to daven for the emunah, to be able to see that Hakol is Latova. Give me HaKadosh Baruch Hu, help me with the understanding, help me with the ability to see that ultimately all is for good. Let me start with that. Yes, of course, it's normal and it's natural, but no one wants difficult circumstances. So of course I'm permitted to go ahead and daven for them to stop as well. But the first yisod is, give me the emunah to be able to see that Hakol is Latova. And then he says something amazing. V'yaskil lahodos halakol. Person has to begin to give thanks for everything. And I will say, sometimes this is a famous yisod of the Sefer HaChinuch and others, which is acharei ha'pa'ulos nimshachos halabavos. Sometimes, if you want to feel a certain way, you have to act a certain way. Sometimes, again, I don't feel certain things inside, but if I begin to act in a particular way, those actions influence my feelings. So the Mechaber says over here, he says that at the end of the day, he says, sometimes I don't feel that things that are happening to me are latova. I don't feel that things are for good. I don't feel that things are for the best. But says the Mechaber, sometimes if I just habituate myself to say certain things, even if I don't yet feel them, I'll begin to feel them. If I begin to express my thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for even the difficult circumstances, recognizing that even those difficult circumstances are for good, even though right now I'm just paying lip service, I don't feel it, I don't really believe it, but sometimes just beginning to say it is the beginning of the process of influencing the way one feels. Because just the act of saying thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for my life circumstances, thank you for even the adversity, recognizing that somehow, some way this is good. This will open up the light of Emunah in a new way. And the person ultimately, again, will come to an internal sense of happiness. So we'll say there are two profound yisodos expressed over here. Number one, that when a person is suffering adversity and a person doesn't feel that it is litova, I don't feel it. Just, again, I'm learning it, it's interesting, but I don't actually feel that these things are litova, that these things are for good. So there are two things I have to do. Number one, I have to dive into HaKadosh Baruch Hu and ask him for help with my emunah. Ask him for help me HaKadosh Baruch Hu to see that it's litova. And number two, begin to express thanks to God. Begin to say, Ribono Shel Olam, I know these circumstances are Latova. Now, of course, there's going to be a voice inside my head that says, come on, this is not Latova. This is terrible. There's no silver lining in this. It's okay. Sometimes in life, you just have to begin the process, ultimately, again, of reaching a particular goal. And you just have to begin by saying it. And if you say it enough, and if you keep on repeating it enough, after a certain point in time, you begin to believe it as well. Page Tzadik Vav. Menucha mitis. Nemar b'Torah b'shevach shevet Yisachar. So the Torah, when praising the tribe of Yisachar, says the following: Vayar menucha kitov ve'esaretz kina ima vayit shichmo lisbol vayhilamas oved. So the pasuk says that Yisachar saw menucha, he saw rest, that it was good, and he saw the land, that it was pleasant, and literally vayit shichmo lisbol, he lowered his shoulder. He lowered his shoulder in order to be able to carry the burden. Vayhilamas oved, and he became ultimately again one who carried the burden. Perush Harav HaKadosh, Rabbi Yitzchak Mevarka, Zatzal, Vayar menucha kitov. So what does it mean that he saw menucha, he saw rest, that it was good? Meaning, you already see there's something interesting in the pasuk, because it says Vayar menucha kitov, which sounds like again Yisachar ultimately is a shevet of menucha, and then it says Vayit shichmo lisbol. He bends his shoulder to carry the burden. So what's going on over here? So Vayar menucha kitov, emasai zocha ha'adam le menucha. Excuse me. Emasai zocha adam le menucha amitis v'tova. When does a person really have the ability to acquire a true inner peace, a true menucha, a true sense of life tranquility? Only im vayet shichmo lisbol. Only if you lower your shoulder, ready to carry the burden. Im notal al atzmo sheyuchal lisbol es hakol. The Rebbe said this is so profound. If a person says to himself, I have the ability to carry on my shoulders whatever life throws my way. I have the ability to carry whatever burden may be cast upon me. If a person believes that he has the ability to navigate every single circumstance in life and bear the burden of the challenges as well as of the brachos, then vayar menucha kitov. Then a person ultimately again has some level of life tranquility. When you believe that you can handle everything, then ultimately again that gives you a menucha in life. He says, Hara hakavana beferish hamila lisbol eno milosho tsar. This is beautiful. You see, we often think that the way to translate vayet shichmo lisbol, he lowers his shoulders. Lisbol ultimately again to deal with the difficulties. Tsar. Ella, but he says that's not the pshat. Ella milashon savlanut. Rather, again, says Rabbi Yitzchak Avarka, that the lashon of lisbol is a lashon of savlanut, of patience. Sheyish lo savlanos l'chol masha over alov shezeh hefech mikot seruach. So as it says Rabbi Yitzchak Avarka, something so beautiful. If we want inner tranquility in life, if we want true tranquility, there's only one way to do that. Vayet shichmo lisbol. I have to approach life with a savlanut for all of my circumstances. I have to find the ability to be b'simcha in all of my circumstances. I have to find the ability and the confidence to know that I could weather all of my life circumstances, to know that nothing in life is going to break me, nothing in life is going to ruin me, that even the difficult situations, I realize that they are from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and in some way, somehow, they are l'tova as well. If a person has that vayit shichmo lisbol approach to life, then vayar menucha kitov. Then they will see ultimately again, they will find for themselves an incredible level of life tranquility. Masai yachal adam lisbol hakol kifi shemafurash kan. When does a person have the ability to carry this entire burden? When does a person have the ability to carry all of the circumstances, like to have savlanut, to have patience for all of the circumstances in life? Rak kashehu mamin shema'oros chayev him b'ashgacha l'tova. But said the only way to go ahead and carry everything on my shoulders and to have the savlanut, the patience for everything in life, is only when a person believes that all of the circumstances of my life are l'tova and with hashgacha. Rak az yachahu lispal hakol, rak az yesh lo menucha. I will say this is very profound. The only time in life a person could have true menucha, a person could have true rest, is if they're able to accept the fact that everything comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is l'tova, is for good. That everything comes from a sense of divine love. If I don't live life with that mindset, then life is very traumatic. Then life is very overwhelming. Then life ultimately is filled with difficulties and challenges and vicissitudes that I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle them. There's no menucha. The only menucha that I would suggest comes from the idea of Vayitchich Molis Bo. If I believe in everything comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything is with Ahava, and everything ultimately again is for my good. Ki hamenucha yechida mikol hadagos ha'olam hazeh u'miyisurav hirak ha'emunah. Because of us, the only rest that one could find in this world from all of the worries and all of the suffering is emunah. Because emunah tells me everything comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and everything is Latova. Some way, somehow, everything is Latova. If I don't have that, then there's no menucha in this world. And without emunah pshuta, that everything is for good. Look at his words. Ha'olam hazeh hu hagehenim ba'atzmo. If I don't believe that everything is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu and everything is Latova, life is Gehenna. Life is Gehenna. And again, this doesn't even need explanation. Life is Gehenna because life is filled with just ridiculous challenges. So if I don't believe that some way, somehow I call Latova, life is Gehenna. He says, the Yoser Garua me Gehenna. It might even be even worse than Gehenna. At least in Gehenna, a neshama has an understanding as to what it is that's happening. If a person has to go to Gehenna, the neshama understands why it's in Gehenna, what the nature of the punishment is. There's an understanding. Sometimes a life in this world without emunah is even worse than Gehenna because there's mamish no understanding. Ki mishpat risham begenem 12 chodesh. Also listen to this. Because the most that a neshama could be in Gehenna is 12 months. Ve'ila ba'olam hazeh yesh anoshim sheyesh lam Gehenna mismashech shal asros shanim. Because there are some people in this world who live in Gehenna for decades upon decades. Umaya Gehenna shalah. And I will say, what is their Gehenna? Hargashas hamarirus, the choser sevius ratzon hamekanenes tader beliva. Both sides, a feeling of bitterness, and a feeling of uncertainty about the nature and circumstances of life. Ki ein yisurim gedolam ba'olam yoser melios memurmar ubilti marutza. Because I will say there is nothing worse in life. There's no greater suffering in this world than ultimately, again, to feel unsettled and to feel like nothing is going according to plan, to feel unwanted by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Umemela, nildim lazak kol shamine gehenim, merivos esichsuchim, kas, dagos, lachatz, kimah, mekama, atzvus, yeush, v'dikon. And I will say, once a person begins to feel like this almost sense of hopelessness, this feeling of abandonment by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that opens the door for so many other negative traits, fighting and worry and jealousy and revenge and sadness and despair, all of these different things. And about say a person feels all of this simply because of a lack of emunah. All of this traces back to an inability to accept all that is happening to me, that it comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's a very strong statement, which we'll leave off for today and pick up in Meretz Hashem on Monday. So therefore, again, if one who lives without emunah is condemned to a life of Gehenna in this world, and a Gehenna that can extend for decades, one who is able to live life with this emunah, that I call everything is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and all is Latova, his life is Gan Eden. What does it mean his life is Gan Eden? It doesn't mean necessarily it's a walk in the park, but at the end of the day, what he's able to find is, if he's able to live a life of Vayetchich Molis Bo, as we saw before the Rebbe Varka, the Savlanut, the patience, the ability to recognize and to think about the fact that Akol is Latova, then such a person ultimately again will be blessed with a certain level of tranquility, a certain level of simcha, a certain level of happiness, and a certain level of contentment, even with all of life's challenges. All right, we'll stop over here. We'll pick up on the bottom of Sadik Vod and Meretz Hashem on Monday. All right, we'll say good morning. Today's daf is Kufman Beis 152. We are picking up Kufman Aleph 151b, 4 lines up from the bottom. Hilchasa. So the Gemara said the final. So remember, we were in the middle of discussing. The Gemara made this distinction yesterday between Mitzvah Machmas Misa and Matna Shchid. And even though again there's an incredible amount of overlap, we're beginning to see distinctions between these two gifts. Matna Shchid Bosai is a gift that is understood, or a framework that is established based on circumstances. A person is on his deathbed. He's conveying away all of his property, and therefore, again, we understand it to be a gift that is initiated by the fact that the person is dying. Therefore, by extension, if the person were to recover, by definition, the gift is void. That, of course, assumes that the Shchimira is gifting away all of his property. Gemara then introduces us to the Mitzvah Machmas Misa. The Mitzvah Machmas Misa is making a partial gift. But in the Mitzvah Machmas Misa, what's happening? The individual is explicitly articulating that he or she is making this gift as a result of the fact that they are dying. So this is not, we don't infer details circumstantially. Rather, again, the fact that this is being driven by the impending death is stated explicitly. Because that was, it's also considered to be a gift made out tonight, and therefore, again, in the event that the individual recovers, so the gift is void. So the Gemara says, "Matna shchimira b'miktzas by kinyan." So we'll say the halacha is that a matana of a shchimira that is only a partial gift. We'll say so. The partial gift over here means. Did I leave off further up? Okay. Yeah, I didn't get to the bottom there. All right, you're going to do it for homework. I mean, it's not sure. Good. All right. So it's even better. I'm just giving you the bottom line. Good. You'll check the podcast. Okay. I'm sorry. All right. If I did skip it, I apologize. But okay, you'll catch up on it in the Hashem. Matna shchimira b'miktzas bayakinya. So Rabosai, the Gemara says the halacha is that matna shchimira b'miktzas, which Rabosai means that shchimira is giving away some of his property by a kinyan. I will say, by a kinyan means it requires a kinyan in order to go ahead and solidify that transaction. And we'll explain that in just a moment. And even though the person subsequently dies, ultimately, again, the gift will still stand. Mitzvah machmas misa. But if one goes ahead and his mitzvah machmas misa, in other words, he gives away his property, recognizing that ultimately, again, he is about to die, meaning, and he articulates that, lo by a kinyan. I will say that does not require any kind of kinyan. Now understand, a matna shchimra b'miktzas, as we just said before, is not real. To a certain degree, it's a little bit of a contradiction in terms. If it's a matna shchimra b'miktzas, it's not really a matna shchimra. So when the Gemara says by a kinyan means what? Why? After all, matna shchimra, right? Matna shchimra is kiksum misurin. So matna shchimra is only considered to be written and sealed if it's a gift of full property. The moment that it's not a gift of full property, but it's just a partial gift, then it's a regular matana, and therefore requires the mechanisms of regular matana. Once you've done that kinyan, that gift is then what? A regular gift. Whether the person survives, whether the person dies, ultimately, again, the gift is going to stand. Mitzvah machmas misra bosai is also considered to be a form of matna shchemira, but again, because it's explicitly articulated that this is being given because of impending death, lo by a kinyan. Ultimately, again, it does not require a kinyan. Vahu demes. But again, that gift only stands if what? If the giver dies. If the giver dies, amad. If the person recovers, choser. Ultimately, again, the gift is voided. Va'af al gav dekanumine. Then I will say, here's the great novelty. When it comes to mitzvah machmas misa, even if there was kabbalas kinyan between the giver and the intended recipient, right? Whether the recipient did kinyan or the agent did a kinyan on behalf of the recipient. So even though now you have a matana with a kinyan, if the giver recovers, the gift is void. And I will say the logic behind that is very clear and explicit, which is why, because Lamaisa, again, it's being given with a tanai. It's being given with a tanai. So because it's being given with a tanai, if he recovers, ultimately the gift is void. Top of Kufman days. Itmar. Matna shchimira shakasa b'kinyan. Let's listen to this case. Let's say a matana b'shchimira, where the kinyan is written into the shtar. Now, what is written in the kinyan is written into the shtar? We'll say this is a case of where the Eden were kona from the giver on behalf of the recipient. Now, and that, so meaning what that would say in the shtar is, Reuven is giving over this property to Shimon, and the Edim were kona the property or item, it doesn't matter what it is, on behalf of Shimon. That's what it means. So you have you have three things happening over here. You have a matna shchimira. Shimon is giving away his property. Number two, there's a shtar, and number three, there's a kinyan. So the Gemara says, what is the nature of this transaction? So Bei Rav Mishmei Rav Amri Arkave Atre Richshi. Such a gift rides on two horses. You'll see what that means in just a moment. Shmuel says, Lo Yedana my adunbe, my adunba. And Shmuel says, I do not know what to do with this transaction. Bei Rav Mishmei Rav Amri Arkave Atre Richshi. So what does it mean? The Yeshiva Ras said, name of Rav, that this type of transaction rides on two horses. Harihi kemat nas bari, harihi kemat nas shchimera. We'll say on one hand, this transaction looks like the gift of a regular healthy person, and on the other hand, it looks like the gift of a shchimera. How so? Harihi kemat nas bari, shim amad ino chozer. So we'll say on one hand, it's like a matnas bari in that what? Even if the giver recovers, so ultimately again the gift is not voided. And we'll say, why is the gift not voided? Why is the gift not voided? Because remember, because we have over here a shtar and the kinyan. On the other hand, harihi kemat nashchimira shim amar hava aso leploni hava aso leploni. We'll see. On the other hand, it is like a matna shchimira in that what if that the shchimira is looking to convey a loan to someone else. Remember, we spoke about the idea that there is under normal circumstances. If I let's say Shimon owes me, Reuben owes me $1,000. And I want to transfer that debt to Shimon. I want to give Shimon the right to collect. How do I transfer the right of collection to Shimon? On the most basic level, simplest way, right? I give him the shtar, right? Mesiras hashtaros. There's also an interesting novel way to do that, which is called ma'amad shlashtar. So ma'amad shlashtar also is if I, the holder of the shtar, together with the debtor, together with the intended recipient of the shtar, are all together, I could convey the shtar to the new intended recipient. So the Gemara says, a shchimira, however, has a different ability. Shchimira has the ability to convey over, the ability to collect the loan just by a verbal command. So what Rav is saying over here is the following. I will say in this case over here, where the shchimira is going ahead and putting down in the document, right, what he's conveying, and ultimately also doing Kabbalah's kinyan. So Rav wants to say this transaction is like a matnas bari and a matnas shchimira. Like a matnas bari, in that the gift is solid and final. That even in the event that the giver recovers, the gift still stands. That's like a matnas bari. It's like a matnas shchimira because it's included in the things that the giver wants to convey over is what? Is a loan. He doesn't need mesiras shtaros and he doesn't need ma'amad shlashtan. Rather, he could just convey it verbally. I'll say, take a look at the Rashbam for just a moment. It's in the wide lines, not the widest lines, but the middle lines. 2, 4, 6, 8 lines in Shem. Amra hava asal leploni. Bizo samatana in nasalo hava shechayev lo ish acher apa gav deleka ma'amad shlashtan. So he could convey over that debt verbally, even though again there is no ma'amad shlashtan. The kaim alon manali biadacha tinei lepani ma'amad shlashtan kana loshna milva v'loshna pikadon v'halcha kani b'tzavas shchimira v'apa gav deleka ma'amad shlashtan. And I will say here he has the ability to go ahead and convey it over just simply through a verbal command. So we'll say that's Rav. So Rav says we'll say in this case where the gift of the shchimira is expressed by a shchimira, but written in a document with Kabbalah's kinyan, Rav says this transaction has the strengths of both a matnas bari and a matnas shchimira. Matnas bari, that is irreversible. Matnas shchimira, that you can convey debts just verbally. Shmuel says, Lo yadana my adonba. Shmuel says, to be honest, I don't know what to do with this type of transaction. Why not? On one hand, Shema lo gomer, not on one hand, but Shema lo gomer lakno, so ela b'shtar. So the fact that the shchimira ultimately goes ahead and puts this all down in a shtar, maybe his intention ultimately is to do what? Is to go ahead and use the shtar as the mechanism for the conveyance of the property. In other words, maybe his das is that this transaction is the wrong word, but this gift should only be complete once the intended recipient takes possession of the shtar. But before he takes possession of the shtar, the gift is not complete. So we'll say that's fine if the shtar is delivered when before he dies. However, ve'in shtar la'achar misa. But ultimately, again, there is no shtar achar misa. So Shmuel therefore says, I don't know what to do with this case. I'm not sure how to interpret the intentions ultimately of the Shemira. Does he mean the document, because understand there are two ways you could view a document. A document could be the mechanism of conveyance, or a document could ultimately be what? Just a shtaraya, just to be a proof that the transaction occurred. So Shmuel says, I'm not sure exactly what to do, and therefore again, Lamaisa, I'm not sure how to pass it on this case. So we have this fundamental machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Rav saying that this is a transaction that rides on two horses, meaning again it has the elements of a matnas bari matnas shchimira, and Shmuel saying I just don't know because I don't know what to do with the shtar. So the Gemara says the Rami, the Rav, the Shmuel. So comes along the Gemara, and the Gemara says, well, one second, we seem to have a contradiction between Rav and himself and Shmuel and himself. How so? The Shalach Rabin Mishmeid Rabbi Avo, because Rabin said the name of Rabbi Avo, Havu Yodi Shalach Rabbi Lazar Lagola Mishum Rabbeinu. Rabbi Lazar sent to the diaspora communities in the name of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Shchimera Sha'amar Kisvu Utunu Manu Laploni. Supposed to listen to this. A Shchimera who went ahead and wrote, who said, thank you, Kisvu Utunu Manu Laploni. Write down in a shtar and give a mana to so-and-so. Okay, what's the halacha? Ein kosvin v'nosnin. They both say, so now what happens? The Shchimira then died. Shchimira died. So the Gemara says, umeis, he died. Ein kosvin v'nosnin. We do not write the shtar, nor do we convey the money to the Shchimira. Why? Shema lo gomer lahaknoso ela b'shtar. Because maybe the Shchimira's intention was to what? Was to only give over. Excuse me, sorry. Maybe the Shchimira's intention was to only give over with the shtar. The in shtar la'achar misa. And I will say ultimately again, there is no shtar achar misa. So this is a similar case. Shchimira is saying, Kisvu utinu mana laploni. Write down, and write according to the shtar and give a money to so and so. Shchimira dies before this happens. So what do we do with this case? So the first opinion the Gemara says, we can't do anything. Because maybe his intention was to convey the mana over through the mechanism of a shtar, and you can't write the shtar after the death of the grantor. And yet to most Rabbi Yehuda's name is Shmuel. Ultimately, again, the Gemara says, Shmuel said, kosvin v'nosnin. So we'll say we go ahead and we write it. So we'll say, so again, the Gemara is describing the first opinion ultimately to Rav, the second opinion to Shmuel, and what do you see? They're reversing their shitos. Rav says that in kosin la'achar misa, right? Rav says you can't write the shtar. I mean, there's the possibility that he wanted to convey it through the shtar. Can't write the shtar after death. That contradicts what Rav said in the previous case. Shmuel saying what? Shmuel saying, El-chasa kosvin v'nosnin. It's not a problem. You can go ahead and write and give the shtar. Now, before we go on, take a quick look at the Rashbam. The Rashbam says, in kosvin v'nosnin. It's about 4 lines up from before the lines get very wide. In kosvin v'nosnin, la'achar shemes, shemelo gomer lahaknos lo ba'peh, ela at sheyichtov ashtar, u'shtar shenichtov la'achar misa lav klumhu, till the inyan shtar lo omer abonim dirishma kiksunichem suundamu, el inyan matnas mamon, the omer tenu nosnin af la'achar misa. So we'll say, so again, the first opinion, which is the opinion the Gemara is describing to Rav, ultimately we'll say that what? If he writes kisvu tenu, you don't know what to do with that because he may have been saying, I only want to convey the property through the mechanism of shtar, and therefore again, lemaisa, you can't write a shtar achar misa. So the Gemara says, so if you take a look at the next Rashbam, on the other hand, Shmuel says that no, you can go ahead and write it. The will say Shmuel's opinion is that when the Shchimira says kisvu utinu, what does he really mean? He really means tunu. He really just means give the document. So why does he write kisvu? Why do you need a shtar? In other words, we'll say the overarching question of all of this is what? A Shchimira doesn't need a shtar. That's part of his koach. So the shaila is when he says write a shtar, that leaves us scratching our heads a little bit, wondering why. Why are you doing that? So the first opinion says, well, maybe he's doing it because maybe he doesn't want this gift to operate under the guise or under the umbrella of a matna shchimira. Maybe he wants this to be just a regular transaction, And as such, he's saying, I want you to transfer it through a shtar. That's fine as long as he's alive. Once he's dead, you can't do it. Shmuel says, no. If he's a shchimira, then we assume that he wants to make this gift through the mechanism of a matna shchimira. So if that's the case, then why the need for a shtar? And what's the answer? Liapos kochel. Because remember, what a shtar gives you is proof. Just gives you proof. So Shmuel says the shtar is not the vehicle of conveyance. The shtar is just simply a shtaraya. It's just a proof to the fact that ultimately this transaction has occurred. So the Gemara says, oh, kasha de Rav, kasha de Shmuel, So we'll say a contradiction between the shitos. To which the Gemara says, Rav lo kasha. Rav is not contradicting himself. Hadalo kanumina. We'll say very simple. Rav will say the case where Rav said that ultimately, again, the matana stands, and we don't view the shtar as the vehicle of transference is when the Eidim were makabel kinyan. So when the Eidim already made a kinyan on behalf of the recipient, right, on behalf of the recipient, then it's clear that Rav would hold that it's just the shtar raya, that the shtar itself is not the vehicle of transfer. Rather, again, the shtar is just simply the mechanism through which the property is transferred. The shtar is just the proof that the transaction occurred. On the other hand, Rav would say, in a case where the Eidim were not makabel kinyan, then what Rabbi say? Then that would be a circumstance ultimately where we'd have to be choshesh that maybe the shchimira is trying to transfer the property through the mechanism of shtar and ein shtar la'achram. So look at the Rashbam for just a moment. Hadu kanumina keda'arman shekasav bakinyan. That's the first case Rabbi say. So the first case on the top of the daf, where again the Eidim actually performed the kinyan below ksiva kevan da'akni bekinyan liyafos kochu David. We assume that where a kinyan was already performed, the shtar is just simply there liyafos kocho, to bolster his strength, which is another way of saying what? Another way of saying ultimately just a raya. So therefore, I will say that reconciles the two shitos of Rav. The Shmuel Okasha, and Shmuel is not contradicting himself either. How so? B'miyafes kocho. I will say that the case ultimately, again, the second brisa is talking about a case where the shtar ultimately was written just to liyafos es kocho, just to bolster the strength of the recipient. Look at the Rashbam. This is b'miyafes kocho kidl kamon v'kanina minei v'stok al matana da yikar loshel miyafos kochu v'hachanai v'tzavaso shama kisvu tenu perish sheyichtavu b'shtar hahu yipui koach dikin mosif alafas. We will see later on that sometimes certain shtaros had a particular type of verbiage that indicated that they were not being used as a vehicle, as a mechanism of transference, but rather just liyafos is kocho. So I will say Shmuel setting up the case is the following. Shmuel saying that in the second brisa that we quoted, where Shmuel says, Shmuel says, kisvu utinu. Shmuel's understanding this case that the ultimately the shemira is transferring as a matna shemira. The kisvu is rak kedev liyafos es kocho. We see from the verbiage of the shtar that the shtar is only being given ultimately to go ahead and bolster the ownership of the intended recipient. Fine. So Yosef Rav Nachman. So we'll say, so what's coming out here so far is the following. You see the tension that the Gemara is dealing with in terms of what happens when a shchimera bolsters his matana with other normative mechanisms of transference. How do we understand those additional mechanisms? Do we say that the shchimera ultimately is therefore not giving a matna shchimera, but is relying on conventional means of transference, or is he just simply trying to bolster the matna shchimira? That's the underlying machlokes in these particular cases. So the Gemara goes right. We'll resolve it in tomorrow. So we'll say, so Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak was sitting behind Rava. Yosef Rava kamed Rav Nachman, and Rava was sitting before Rav Nachman. So what happens? Kaboy minei. So Rava asked Rav Nachman the following kasha: Mi amar Shmuel shema lo gamar lahaknoso ela b'shtar vein shtar lachami. So we'll say, did Shmuel actually say? Now, we'll say this is going back to the first case. This was the case of the shchimera who goes ahead and conveys property through a shtar, and there's a kinyan written in the shtar. In other words, that the shtar indicates that a kinyan was performed from the Eidim on behalf of the intended recipient. So we'll say, so Shmuel doesn't know what Shmuel paskin, that I don't know what to do with this case, right? Why? because Shmuel's concerned that maybe the Shechimira's intention was only to convey the gift with what? With shtar and in shtar lachamisa. So now we'll say you have Rava asking Rav Nachman, Miyamar Shmuel, Shemalo Gamar Lachnoso Ela B'shtar Ben Shtar Lachamisa. Does Shmuel actually say this? That in this case, you have to be concerned that maybe the Shechimira only wanted to convey their property through a shtar, and there is no shtar after that. Did Shmuel really say that? Shmuel, listen to this case. Shechimira goes ahead and writes all of its properties to others. Even though again there's been Kabbalah's Kinyan, Amad Choser. If he goes ahead and recovers, what's the halacha? If he goes ahead and recovers, the gift is voided. The gift is voided. Amad base, biadua shalohaya kinyan ela machmas hamisa. Because the Bosa, it is clear that what? It is clear that what? That the kinyan was only done machmas misa. Bosa, what does this mean? Take a look at the Rashbam. Biadua shalohaya kinyan ela machmas misa. Hilcha chozerbo. So we'll say, therefore, again, the Shechimira has the ability to go ahead and retract. Ha-im-meis kona ha-mekabal matana below amrinon shemalo gamar laknoso ela b'shtar bein shtar la'achamisa. So we'll say, okay, see, here's what's interesting. So what's happening over here? The Gemara's understanding, just to understand the halamin of the kasha, the Gemara's understanding over here that this case of Shechimira shekasav kol nechasav la'achir afapi shekal miyado is also seems to be a similar case, or almost the exact case, of the first case on Amud Aleph, right? On the first case on top of this daf, which is Shechimira is writing a document. In that document, he is conveying property to an intended recipient. In addition to that, afapi shakanu miyado. Kanu miyado also means what? There's been a kinyan. So meaning, this seems to be the same case. There's a shtar with a kinyan recorded in it that records the property of the Shechimira being given over, ultimately again, to the intended recipient. And what does the Gemara say? That if the Shechimira recovers, what's the halacha? What's the halacha? The gift is voided. 1 second. There was Kabbalah's kinyan, right? There was shtar. So what does the Gemara say? Why is the gift voided? Because it's understood that at the end of the day, I will say, this is a matna Shechimira. All of this entire gift was being done because the giver had the intention, but assumed that he was going to die. Therefore, when he recovers, ultimately, again, the gift is voided. Look at the Rashbam again. So Rashbam will say, so what's the kasha? Hilcha chozer ba'al, I'm reading the Rashbam. Hilcha chozer ba'al, ha'im meis kana mekabel matana. So we'll say, the Shechimira dies, the intended recipient acquires the gift. Below Amrinon, Shemalo Gamar Lahaknosa Ela B'shtar, Bein Shtar La'achamisa. And I will say, what do you see from here? Now there's a shtar in this case. Yet you see, we don't say, well, maybe the Shechimira only intended to transfer the property through a shtar, and in Shtar La'achamisa. So what do you see from here? I will say, the Kasha de Shmuel, the Amar Lo Yadana Mai Adun, Matna Shechimira, Sheish Bakinyan, the Hainuhach. So what's like? So there's a kasha on Shmuel. Why? Because Shmuel said in this exact situation where there is a shtar, Shmuel said, I don't know what to do with this because maybe the Shechimira only wants to convey the property through a shtar. And therefore, again, I'm not sure what to do. What do you see from here? You see from here that even when there's a shtar, even when there's a kinyan, it's clear that Shechimira is not relying on those mechanisms for the transfer. Rather, the Shechimira ultimately is transferring this as a matah Shechimira. So we'll say, so Rava's saying this to Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman motioned to Rava with his hand, and Rava was quiet. So we'll say, so take a look at the Rashbam. What does it mean that Rav Nachman motioned to Rava? So the Rashbam says, Shiodea teretz b'davar. So Rav Nachman meaning motioned to him, okay, I've got the answer, I'll give you the answer, give me a second. Inami, Ramas lo ke'en yipoi kocho lomar t'mokmila lahu d'kamar kana mi'afes kocho. Sorry, so we'll say, so whatever happened, so Rav Nachman decides to kind of shut down the dialogue. So what does he do? He goes there and he waves his hands at Rava, and Rava's quiet. The ishtik, he come, Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak l'Rava. So we'll say, when ultimately again, when he got up, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, which is the different Rav Nachman, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says to Rava, Man achdi l'cha. Why, when Rav Nachman signaled to you to be quiet, I mean, obviously Rava understood somehow what Rav Nachman was saying. So what was he saying to you? So Amar, he said to me, V'yafa es kocho. Oh, So Rav Nachman was telling me that this case that the Gemara brings is not a kasha on Shmuel. Why? Because I will say in this case, the shtar that was written was clearly not a mechanism of conveyance, but rather this was the type of shtar that is clear that is only there to bolster the ownership of the recipient, what we would call a shtar raya, a document of proof of ownership, but not a document of conveyance. Therefore, I will say Shmuel's suffix that he expressed on the top of Amud Aleph was only in the case where the shtar looks like a potential vehicle of conveyance. So if the shtar looks like a potential vehicle of conveyance, that's when Shmuel says, I'm not sure, does the shchimira want to convey this through matna shchimira or through a shtar? And if it's a shtar, ein shtar la'achar misa. That's when Shmuel has his suffix. But if at the end of the day it is clear that the shtar is liyapos es kocho, just to bolster his ownership, it's just the shtar raya, it's just the shtar of proof, then at the end of just a proof of ownership, then at the end of the day, even Shmuel would agree that what? That it's a matna shchimira. The intended recipient acquires it, and in the event that the shchimira recovers, then what? Then Lamaisa again, the gift is voided. So the Gemara says, Heichi dami miafes kocho. So by the way, like, how do you know that in a shtar? In other words, obviously, the Gemara is saying that in this type of what we call yifui koach, the shtar is only there to bolster ownership. There must be something written in the shtar that indicates that to us. So what is written in a shtar that would indicate to us that this is a shtar that is there to bolster ownership and not to transfer ownership? To which the Gemara says, Amar Rav Chisda, what does it say? So Rav Chisda says, if you would find the following line in the shtar, if the shtar would say, Vikanina mine, mosif al matanasa da, and we have acquired from him, or for him, more, or I should say additionally, regarding this transaction. Now, what does this mean? Take a look at the Rashbam. The Rashbam says, it's almost right, it's right across in the Rashbam. Vikanina mine, mosif al matanasa da, kikol ma de kasav umafurish le'el, b'mana de kasha l'miknei bei, shari v'kayim. Well, so listen to this. So meaning, if the shtar ends off, now almost, we recognize this lashon from a ksuva, but the truth is, in the times of the Gemara, all shtaros ended off with this same verbiage. Kamat de kasam of Urshleil, anything that is written above, b'mana de kasha l'miknei bei, has been transferred in a way or with an object that is capable of affecting kinyan, and what? Shari v'kayim, all is good. All is good. This transaction is good. Kilomar, v'kanina minei kinyan gamer, lahosif uliapos kocho, milvat hamash. That written in the shtar abosai is that in the shtar it's written, and even though, right, the intended recipient has acquired the gift, we have also been makabel kinyan on his behalf in an additional fashion in order to bolster his claim. So because remember, a matna shchemira doesn't require a kinyan, doesn't require a shtar, doesn't require anything. So the point that Rav Chisda is making is that in the shtar itself it says, V'kanina minei, we the eitim, we're makabel kinyan on behalf of the intended recipient, mosif al matanasa da, which is an extra layer of acquisition above and beyond what is necessary for this gift. So it's expressly articulated in the shtar itself that the individual acquired the gift. How did he acquire the gift? It's a matna shchimira, right? It's matna shchimira because he's not. That's it. I don't need anything. But the eitim, right? We went above and beyond. We're makabel kinyan on his behalf. The fact that they're writing we went above and beyond and we're makabel kinyan indicates to us that kabbalah's kinyan, like the shtar, is not part of the core transaction, rather just a supplemental piece to bolster ownership. And in that case, even Shmuel would agree that what? That this is a bona fide matna shchimira. The shtar is not the mechanism of conveyance, and therefore if the shchimira dies, the gift stands. Of course, if the shchimira recovers, ultimately the gift is voided. Fine. Pshita, kasav lazeh, kasav lazeh. So let's listen to this case. It's pashit. That the shchimira kasav lazeh, the kasav lazeh. So let's say he went ahead. If you look at the Rashbam, it's kasav lazeh, kasav lazeh. Shchimira shekasav, kol nechasav l'rubei matna shchimira. Lo shna ba'per lo shna b'ksav levar matanaso b'chazer v'kisvo naso l'shimen. Aval lo masr lo hanes ashtar. So we'll say, what's the case over here? The case over here is the shchimira went ahead and first wrote all of his property to Ruvain, and then wrote all of his property to Shimon. Okay, so what do I do in a case like this? So the Gemara says, Pshita kasav lazeh v'kasav lazeh. Hainu dichi asar avdini amar daitiki levatelas daitiki. So we'll say the Gemara says that's an easy case. That's an easy case. Why is this an easy case? We'll say because at the end of the day, a matna shchemira, remember as we've said before, is not chal until a person dies. Because it's not chal until a person dies, therefore what? You could go ahead and choose to gift and to re-gift as many times as you want. Or I should say not re-gift, but you could choose to gift to one and then what? Cancel that and go ahead and gift to another. The Gemara says daitiki, Rashbam says daitiki, shal sheni mebatel daitiki, shal rishon l'shchemira yochel lachzer bo, hilchoch acharon kana shrei chazva mirishon. So daitiki l'shal matna shchemira. So we'll say daitiki is a gift. One gift could cancel another gift. So we'll say, the Gemara says this is pashit. It's pashit. That again, a shchemira could change his mind multiple times. Who's going to get the gift, the matna shchemira at the end of the day? Who's going to get it? Last individual stated, or last individual articulated. However, what about the following? Kasav v'zicha lazeh, the kasav v'zika lazeh. What happens about in the following case? Let's say the shchemira went ahead and wrote in a document, I hereby give all of my property to Ruvain. Right? Wrote it in a shtar, and he gives the shtar to Ruvain. And then what happens, Rabbi say? He writes a second shtar. And what does he do? I hereby go ahead and give my property to Shimon. And he gives Shimon the shtar. So we'll say, so now we have two matanos, two shtaros. What do we do in that circumstance? So the Gemara says, so what, kasav zika lazeh, Rav Amar Rishon Kana. So Rav says, the first individual ultimately is Kona. Shmuel Amar Sheni. Shmuel says the second one acquires. So what's going on over here? So watch this. What it says the Gemara. Rav Amar Rishon Kana Haru Kamatnas Bari. Rav says ultimately again the first one acquires. Why? Because we treat this transaction as a matnas bari, as a regular healthy person's gift. Look at the Rashbam for just a moment. The Rashbam says Rav Amar Rishon Kana Tahazika Kekinyan Chashavle Bari Kematnas Shchimir Ashakasaba Kinyan the Arkavi Acherichshi. So we'll say, so Rav is of the opinion, ultimately again, that since the Shchimira is availing himself of a normative mechanism of shtar, therefore what we'll say, this is no longer matna Shchimira, rather what? It's a gift. It's a gift. And therefore I will say the same way in a regular gift, a matnas bari, if you gift to Ruvain, then you decide to gift to Shimon, that second gift is irrelevant because the property is no longer yours. Therefore, Rav says because there is a shtar that is being maintained over here or that is being utilized over here, a regular, and also we're assuming that there's a kinyan in this as well. It's a matnas bari. Shmuel Amar Sheni Kana Hari ke matnas shchimira. Shmuel says no, that ultimately the second one acquires it. Why? Because this is a matnas shchimira. I both say the shchimira has the ability to change his mind as many times as he wants. And therefore the second one acquires it. Look at the Rashbam. Shmuel Amar Sheni Kana Kentin matnas shchimra b'chom b'chasav she'ein ba kinyan. Ve'im amad chozer v'amina le'el she'im kol she'im amad chozer matnas sheni kana. So if Shmuel says this is a matnas shchimra, and therefore again l'maisa, the giver could choose to go ahead and cancel previous gifts and give it to a second recipient. So the Gemara says, one second, we already learned, we had this machlokes Rav and Shmuel already. Why is the Gemara re-articulating this? So the Gemara says, it will say, we just learned this on the top of Amud Aleph, right? Rashbam says, that if you have the Matan of a Shchimir, I will say, in which there's a kinyan written in the shtar, the Rav Amar Arkavat Sherichshi, Rav says ultimately again it's riding on two different horses. Ushmuel Amar Savarav Dafil La'atzman Amilokana. So we'll say, so again the Gemara says, I don't understand why are we re-articulating this machlokes? We already had this before. I'll tell you why. Tzricha. Di'i itmar baha, because we'll say if the Gemara would have just articulated the first case, baha meaning the first case on the top of Amud Aleph, baha Amarav Mishum Dekanumine. I would have thought there was like that Rav holds his position. In that case, why? Because the Eidim were mamish makabel kinyan on behalf of the intended recipient. Haval baha, but in this case that we just stated, the low kanumine, Rabbi said is a shtar, but there is no kinyan. Ema modi leil Shmuel. Perhaps Rav would agree with Shmuel that this is not called the matnas bari, but rather what? This is called the matnas shchimira. V'i itmar baha, and if we would have just said this case, baha kamar Shmuel. Well, it's only in the second case that Shmuel holds it's like a matnas shchimira. Aval bahach, but maybe in the first case, I will say, where there's a kabbalah's kinyan, Ema Moldele the Rav. I would have thought that perhaps he agrees with Rav. Therefore, again, tzricha. Therefore, we'll say both cases are necessary. Besura Masnuha. So we'll say in Surah they had this version of the exchange. The Pumpadisa Masnuha. But the Pumpadisa, they had the following exchange. Amr Rav Yerim bar Abba Shalchu Libei Rav L'Shmuel Yilamdenu Rabbeinu. Rabbi teach us Shchimira Shekasav Kol Nechasav LaAcherim V'Kanu Miyado Mahu. What is the halacha, Vosai? A Shchimira who wrote all of his property to another person, V'Kanu Miyado, and he did Kabbalah's Kinyan with the Eidim. He did Kabbalah's Kinyan with the Eidim. Mahu. Vosai, what is the halacha? Right? What is the halacha? Meaning, now here what the Gemara is actually asking, I said Mahu, the Gemara is actually asking over here, is does the giver have the ability to retract the gift or not? So Shalach Lahu, Ein Achar Kinyan Klum. So he responded ultimately again, after there's been a Kabbalah's Kinyan, there is no longer any ability to go ahead and retract. Savar Minei, so we'll say, so he said, top of Kuflan Gimel, Savar Minei, Hani Mili La'achar. Avali Atzmo Lo. So we'll say, he said to him, well, maybe the only inability to retract is if what? Is if the Shemira wants to give it to someone else. But if the Shemira wants to bless you, wants to take it back for himself, then perhaps that should be permitted. To which the Gemara says, Amru Rav Chisda ki asra achuna mikufri pirsha bein la'atzmo bein la'achir. So we'll say, ultimately, again, he said, no, what we learned from Kufri came along, he said, whether the Shemira ultimately, again, wants to go ahead and take back the gift for himself or take back the gift for others. Ultimately, again, once there's been a Kabbalah's Kinyan, the Shemira does not have the ability to do so. So I will say, what's interesting over here is the following, is that Lamais in this second version, what the Gemara is hinging this on is what? Is Kabbalah's Kinyan. Once there has been a Kinyan, then Lamais again takes on the status of an irreversible gift, and Lamais, the Shemira cannot retract either for himself or for others. So we'll stop over here for today. We'll do a little part on the parasha, but just understand what we're leaving off kind of in the middle of. The great ambiguity that we are faced with, or not ambiguity, the great kasha that we are faced with, which we're going to resolve B'mirat Hashem in tomorrow's daf, is at the end of the day, in a classic Shchimira situation, we understand how this all works. In a classic Shchimira situation, the Shchimira just uses the power of Shchimira ultimately to go ahead and convey the gift. And all that is required is simply a verbal statement of conveyance. Where does it become complicated? Where Shechemra begins to incorporate other forms of transfer into his gift, whether that is a shtar. So if he includes the shtar, how do we understand the shtar? Is the shtar the vehicle, is the mechanism of conveyance, or is the shtar just simply a shtar raya? If the shtar contains verbiage that indicates that it's clearly a shtar raya, good, then we know it's the shtar raya. But in the absence of that verbiage, is it the mechanism of conveyance, or ultimately, again, is it kedei li'afos kocho? So that's a great unknown. Number two, when there's Kabbalah's Kinyan. So what is Kabbalah's Kinyan there for? Is Kabbalah's Kinyan there just to bolster the fact that it's a matna shchimira? Or is Kabbalah's Kinyan saying, no, this is no longer a matna shchimira, rather what? This is a regular matana. So we'll say that's all the confusion that's coming up over here. Retzim will resume that confusion. We will resolve that confusion. Right? We will resolve the confusion in Mirat Hashem. We will dispel the confusion in Mirat Hashem tomorrow. All right, just a short idea on the parasha. Just we know that Parashas Korach contains the really tragic episode of the rebellion of Korach. Just again, assuming that we follow the straight chronology of the parashas of the Torah, so in the aftermath of the Chet Meraglim, the morale in Klal Yisrael, as one could imagine, is exceptionally low. Korach takes advantage of this wave of negativity to launch his own rebellion against Moshe Rabbeinu. I mentioned in different year that this must have been bubbling up inside of him for a very long time, but he sees his opportunity now to strike out against Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu, amazingly enough, to his credit, even though again he could have lost it on them, he does not initially, and he tries to reason with Korach, with Dasan and Abiram, and he tries to go ahead and hopefully try to engage them in a dialogue. So the pasuk says, "Vayishlach Moshe." This is in Parak Zayin pasuk Yud Beis. Vayishlach Moshe likro leDasan v'la'Abiram b'nei Eliyav. So Moshe Rabbeinu calls out to Dasan and Abiram, the sons of Eliyav, and he called. Meaning, why does he call out to them? Just come to me. Let's discuss this. Let's talk. And they say, "Vayomru lo na'aleh." we'll say a ridiculous chutzpah. They don't even show. You imagine this: the Gadol Hador invites you, tells you, "I'd like to have a little conversation with you." You say, "I'm not coming. I'm not coming." In other words, that they're not even willing to be good. It's not even willing to like acknowledge Moshe. They're not even willing to dialogue. We're not coming to you. So also listen to this. So the Rebbe Simcha ben Pshischa asks a very fascinating question. He says, "Mipnei ma lo ala bidei Moshe Rabbeinu lahashkin shalom machane Yisrael." So the Rebbe asks such a fascinating question. He says, "Why was Moshe Rabbeinu unsuccessful? Meaning, why is it that he was unable to make shalom within the ranks of Klal Yisrael?" So we'll say, so the Pashut answer is what? The Pashut answer is that in order to make peace, what do you need? You need a partner in peace. You need a partner, as they say, you need a partner in peace, right? And if the other side are just simply not interested in shalom, there's nothing to talk about. What are you going to do? So that's the so no. See, it's interesting. I never saw someone ask this question before. I mean, the Rebbe is asking a kasha Moshe Rabbeinu. Why isn't Moshe Rabbeinu able to make shalom within the ranks of Klal Yisrael? Question, because the answer is it's not a kashan Moshe, it's kashan Korach, it's kashan Asan Aviram. But the Rebbe feels that still a Moshe Rabbeinu Avosai who has the ability to do anything. Why could he not make shalom within the ranks of Klal Yisrael? So the Rebbe says, get ready for this. Mipnei shemoshe lo hitriach es atzmo lovo elehem ulishadlam b'divrei pios v'ritzui. Because Moshe Rabbeinu did not expend the effort to go to them and to try to dialogue with peace. Ela yashav ba'ohel v'shalach likro osam sheyavou elav. But rather, he says Moshe Rabbeinu called for them to come to him. He didn't go to them. He called for them to come to him. Lachein yarat haderech l'neged hashalom. It says there is something profoundly amazing. Moshe Rabbeinu was unsuccessful in making shalom with the ranks of Klal Yisrael because he waited for the disputants to come to him, because he called Dasan Aviram to come to him. And the Rebbe says something incredibly amazing. If you want shalom in life, you can't wait for it to come to you. You have to run after it. And I will say, this is the part that Rebbe says in the Mishnah Perkei Avos. It's amazing. What does the Mishnah say? Heavy mitalmidav shel Aaron. If you notice again, the Mishnah doesn't tell us to be the students of Moshe Rabbeinu. It tells us to be the students, even though Moshe is known as Moshe Rabbeinu. It tells us, rather, it says, Heavy mitalmidav shel Aaron, oev shalom. Well, Moshe is oev shalom also. Rodev shalom. The difference between the two brothers of Osai is that both of them loved peace. The difference, says the Rebbe Pshischa, is that, and again, this has to do with much more also about personality traits, is that Aaron HaKohen ran after peace. He ran after it. Whereas Moshe Rabbeinu called shalom to him. Says the Rebbe something so profound. I both said, this is not faulting Moshe. I want to be clear. This is just a difference in personality. But the Torah Kodesh is teaching us a lesson that if you want peace in life, if you want shalom in life, ultimately, again, you have to run after it. If you're expecting those with whom you have fallouts or those with whom you have disagreements to show up at your doorstep and make peace, ain't going to happen, as they say. But if you really want shalom in life, you have to be willing to run after it. And we'll say it's not just shalom. What the Rebbe is also teaching us in general is, if you want to accomplish anything in life, you have to run after your accomplishments. Don't wait for your accomplishments to show up for you. We'll say so many of us go through life knowing things that we want to do, knowing things we want to accomplish, and we're waiting. I'm waiting for this person to do this, and I'm waiting for this one to do that, and I'm waiting for this to come here, and I'm waiting for this to come there. And I will say, there are people in Nebuch that spend with the most beautiful plans and beautiful aspirations, who spend their lives waiting for stuff to come to their doorstep. They're waiting for people or for things or for events to show up at their tent. And the Rebbe teaches us an incredible yesod in life. If you wait, the only thing that happens is waiting, or more waiting, and more waiting. If you want the things in life, I will say, whether it's shalom, or whether it's accomplishments, or whether it's the actualization of your life aspirations, don't wait for it to come to you. It's heavy mitalmid of Sha'ar, unfortunately not talmid of Moshe, but ultimately, again, whatever you want in life, shalom or anything else, find the koach, ultimately, again, to be a rodek.
A double tie Friday.